I am honored to introduce this gentleman. He's got quite an amazing biography if you go online and look at it. He's an educator, a historian, a journalist, an internationally known expert on politics, economics, foreign affairs, and national security issues. He was born in Cuba and at the age of 17 participated in the Bay of Pigs invasion in an effort to eradicate communism in Cuba. After spending 2 years in prison, he returned to the United States where he earned 3 college degrees. He's married and has a daughter and grandson. He had a 37-year in the Miami-Dade County Public Schools as a social studies teacher, a principal, a region superintendent, an associate superintendent of instruction, and interim deputy superintendent of schools. He was also an associate professor of social studies in the College of Education at Florida International Education for 7 years. He has written 21 books and over 100 articles in newspapers and magazines. And I dare say I could go on, but this gentleman right here is with us tonight with his latest book, America in Decline. Let us welcome Mr. Frank de Varona from Miami.
Thank you so much, Cindy, and thank you for all the work that you do, working with this Tea Party, trying to preserve a constitutional republic and fight for liberty and freedom. Before I begin speaking, I'd like to introduce my wife, Heidi Prado, who is sitting at the table. I brought quite a few of our books, America in Decline, and we're selling them at a discount at $20. It sells for $25 at Amazon. I also want to introduce my very dear friend, Dr. Juan Torres. Would you please stand, Juan? Juan Torres and I belong to a patriot group called Bear Witness Central. Are you familiar with that website? Raise your hand if you attend. Excellent, excellent. Well, our website is quite good, and it has received up to 10,000 hits a day, and that's really very, very good. Of course, not every day we get that many hits, but up to that we have received. And I am the Miami-Dade director of Bear Witness Central, and Juan is the Central Florida Bear Witness director, and our president, Rolando Perez, is the president, and he is from Jacksonville. In fact, we're having a conference in Jacksonville, August, I believe the 9th, August the 9th. So you're all invited to come to Jacksonville, if you can drive that far. Also, I'd like to introduce Mariano Gonzalez Solis. Will you please stand, Mariano? Mariano Gonzalez Solis works at a radio station called 1020 AM, El Radio del Pueblo, the People's Radio. But it has nothing to do with the People's Republic of China. It's just the opposite. It is the only conservative radio station in Spanish in Central Florida. And, and it's affiliated with the Baptist Church. They are the owners of the station, and where that station is in the back of a huge church called El Calvario, El Calvary Church. And I just came from there where I had a 1-hour interview with him. And I'm on the radio there every week, every Tuesday. And also Dr. Torres is there every week on Monday, is it? On Thursday. And the reason that we are on that radio station, the reason that Mariano Gonzalez Solis is there 2 hours a day, Monday to Friday, is the fact that we have a lot of Puerto Ricans and other Hispanics in Central Florida, and most of them vote Democratic. And we need to reverse that. And that's what we're trying to do in that radio station. And we need to take the message to those Puerto Ricans that have been brainwashed, watching Univision television, Telemundo television, and all the progressive radio stations in the Central Florida that talks to them in Spanish, but advance the agenda of Barack Obama. So this is the only station of its kind and that's why Bear Witness is working closely with them so that we can be there and send our message. Well, one time I was talking about Malik Obama, who is the eldest brother of Barack Obama, and he works for the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt and Sudan. That's the president's brother. It's one of the 8 scandals that are having a chapter here. When I was talking to him about that, how the vice president of the Supreme Court of Egypt has said on Cairo TV, Malik Obama is the architect of the finances of the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. And that is why President Barack Obama has placed in power Mohammed Morsi there from the Muslim Brotherhood, and that he pushed out Hosni Mubarak, who was our ally for over 35 years, to install the Muslim Brotherhood there. And once he installed the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, we gave him 200 Abrams tanks. At the same time, he was decimated the Pentagon budget. He cut the budget by 10% for the next 10 years. Our Navy now is going to be the size it was in 1913. Our Army is going to be the size it was in 1939, before World War II. That's what he's doing to the military, besides kicking out 20, 30, 40 generals that do not agree with his policies. And besides throwing away Christianity from our military, including the service academy. So yeah, we have an architect of destruction that lives in the White House, and also a traitor, as I will get into that in a second here. I also want to introduce Pam Evans right here in front of me, who is the sister of Diana, who is from here, and both of us are in the executive committee of the Republican Party, and both of us spoke against Common Core. She actually drafted a resolution for our Miami-Dade Executive Party, and both of us, to 175 people, spoke against Common Core, and we got 175 against 1 vote in favor of Common Core. And it's very sad that our governor, stand up, Pam, let me see your face here. She's also being a speaker at Bear Witness conference in Miami as well. But it's very sad to see not only Jeb Bush supporting Common Core, but our own governor supporting Common Core. It's very, very sad. And I know a lot of people are not going to vote for him because of Common Core, but I'm going to hold my nose and vote for him because Charlie Crist is much worse than him. So even though he's not a perfect governor, I hold my nose and vote for him because out of the 2 lesser evils, you pick the worst of the 2, right? Evil, to eliminate. Well, I want to talk now about American decline. I have written 4 books on Barack Obama. I've been studying him almost full time, 7 days a week, since 2007. And I wrote 3 books in Spanish. And the reason I did that, because there was not a single book in Spanish in the United States about Barack Obama when he ran for office in 2008. And so I wrote a book called Obama or McCain, talking about the 2 candidates and the ideology. And I was astounded that the Democratic Party will nominate somebody like him when I found out his background. Then in 2010, I came with this book. The other one is completely sold out, so I cannot even show you that one. This is called, in English, The True Obama is Marxist, Socialist, and Radical Connections. That came out before the midterm election in 2010. Then I wrote this book, 480-page book, before it came out September 11, the day of the Benghazi attack upon our special mission compound that killed Ambassador Chris Steve. In fact, I have his picture here because on that day I finished the book, but at least I had time to put his picture in the book. So this book came out, 480 pages, called Obama or Romney. And in January of this year, I have American Decline, and believe it or not, 480 pages, exact number of pages. I think I need to play the lottery 480. Maybe I'll win. Okay, so now American Decline, because it's such a lengthy book and people are, oh my God, I never have time to read this. Well, I wrote an introduction that is like an executive summary of a report. So if you just read the introduction, which is 57 pages long, it has the whole book summarized there. So you don't have to read 480 pages. But if you do, it's much better if you read it all. I have 85 pictures in here and 4 maps. So I'll just quickly describe the book, and then I want to spend the rest of the time that I have. I don't want to go over 40 minutes. My wife's going to make a sign, right, to let me know that, because I do want to answer questions, your questions. But I want to mention it has 22 chapters. I began with who is Barack Obama. And I tried to summarize in that chapter who he is. A person that has been associated with Marxists since the 5th grade and with radical Muslims all his life. When he lived with Lolo Soetoro, who married his mother, and he went to living in Jakarta, Indonesia, where there he, like every Indonesian, in any school in Indonesia, by law, they have to learn the Quran, they have to learn how to speak Arabic. You can't read, the Quran is in Arabic, so you have to be able to know a little bit of Arabic in order to read the Quran. Now, he went to mosques with his stepfather, and when he was asked by the New York Times if he was ever a Muslim, he says, I have never been a Muslim. Of course he was. And just recently, when he welcomed the traitor deserter's parent to the White House, of this sergeant that deserted our army and actually joined the Taliban. I was teaching the Taliban how to kill our soldiers in Afghanistan. He welcomed the parents, and then the parent blessed the White House for Islam. He blessed, and then the president smiled because he understood what was happening. He knew exactly what he was doing. And then we traded the worst 5 Talibans that we have for a traitor who should be court-martialed. And of course, he's now out of the hospital, and now he's a regular soldier again, as we read in the newspaper. Anyway, so I have a section on the life of Obama that I have at least 30 bullets why I think he's a radical Muslim. And I don't want to give it all. I mean, you can read it there. And I don't have time to go over that, but it's a quite, I have a great summary of his life in that chapter. Then the second chapter talks about Obama's road to a bankrupt and weaker nation, and this is being done deliberately. This is not an accident. It's being done deliberately. And look at that. Our GNP went down by 2.9% last trimester. And he's saying that the economy is booming, everything is fine. There are less people working now in our workforce than 35 years ago. That's how the economy is going. And then I mentioned how Obamanomics has been a complete failure. That's the following chapter. After that, I have a 29-page chapter, which I mentioned Pam there, which is called Obama's Destructive Common Core Curriculum and Standards. And one of the persons that's working on the Common Core Standards is none other than Bill Ayers. He's going around with the Secretary of Education, Arnie Duncan from Chicago, with the Deputy Undersecretary of Education, and the third speaker is Bill Ayers, and they're going around the nation giving conferences. So he's working. I like to see the social studies standards when they come out, if they're written by Bill Ayers. And of course, Bill Ayers, as you know, together with Bernardine Dorn, his wife, they planted 30 bombs in the United States in places like the Pentagon, Congress, police stations in San Francisco. They actually killed a couple of police officers in San Francisco. And they, the terrorists on the Weather Order ground actually declared war upon the United States during the Vietnam War. They were in New York building a bomb to kill soldiers from Fort Dix, New Jersey, which was where they were leaving to Vietnam from that army base. Fortunately, that bomb exploded and killed several of the terrorists. And when that happens, whoever's in that room is first-degree murder, because you're doing a felony and there are dead people on the floor, even if those dead people are from your group. So these 2 people became fugitives for many, many years. And eventually, when they were apprehended, Bill Ayers' dad is a multimillionaire who owns like the Florida Power and Light of Chicago, whatever the name is, the Edison, whatever it's called there. multimillionaire, hired the best lawyers in the nation, and he was able to free his son and daughter-in-law because the FBI had heard the conversations without a court order. And on that technicality, these two people were free. And then, of course, Villers went to Colombia. More than likely, he met Obama there in Colombia and got a PhD in education. And then he, for the next 30-some years, he was a professor of education at the University of Chicago, training the teachers for the Illinois public schools. Isn't that wonderful? Well, that is not rare. I served 7.5 years as an associate professor at FIU, and one of the persons I liked the most in the College of Ed, a person born in Cuba, whose wife is from my own hometown, and they founded FIU. Both of them are in prison because they were working for the secret police of Cuba. And he was taking kids from FIU to Cuba, so then it's easy for him then to talk to his bosses at Seguridad del Estado, like the secret police in Cuba is called. So our universities are full of Marxists. And I know because I work at one of them. And even at FIU, most of the people born in Cuba that were working at FIU, if they were not socialists, they were Marxists. Most of them were. One woman that worked there, head of the Latin American studies, was giving a lover in Cuba. And so every time she went to Cuba, she had a young man that took care of her. And then, of course, then she was writing articles against Mitt Romney in the newspapers and so forth. All right, then I have 3 chapters that are very similar. It's about the New World Order. And I did a lot of research on that. And of course, I'm referring there about how the whole history from the Illuminatis all the way to Skull and Bones and everything else. But the current groups of the New World Order are the Bilderberg Group, founded in 1954, with David Rockefeller, one of the most evil persons ever alive, and he's like 98 years old, and still active against the best interests of our nation. So the Bilderberg Group was founded in Holland at a hotel called Bilderberg, and that's why they took the name Bilderberg Group. In 1954, the monarchs of Europe, Prince Bernhard, the husband of the Queen of Holland, Queen Julieta of Holland, who is the owner of the Royal Dutch Company. These people have a little bit of money. And he used to be a Nazi in World War II, Prince Bernhard, born in Germany. And eventually he had to be separated from the government when he took kickbacks from Boeing Corporation. But he was one of the founders, along with Prince Philip of England, along with a lot of the monarchs, the Rothschild family of Europe, a lot of the multimillionaires of Europe. And then, of course, after that, David Rockefeller founded the Trilateral Commission in 1972, which now incorporates Europe, the Americas, North, Central, South America, and Asia. And prior to that, in 1921, we had the Council of Foreign Relations, which was an offshoot of the Royal Institute house in London that was founded in 1919, immediately after World War I. So those 3 groups are extremely powerful, and a lot of people think that they are actually the ones that are running our government here in the United States and the government of Europe and other places like that. Of course, China is not going to be dominated by any of those groups. China wants to be the new superpower. Then I have another chapter on the Federal Reserve Bank, which is neither federal nor has any reserves. It was signed into law in December of 1913, December 23rd, 1913. It was an unconstitutional act because Section 1, Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution says clearly the Congress shall print the money and determine the value thereof. That's what it says. So how could we pass a law taking away that right from Congress, unconstitutional? We didn't have an amendment to the Constitution, and give that power to a private banking cartel made up of American bankers and European bankers. And there was a secret meeting held in near San Simon Island. Jekyll Island. Yes, it's a great book called The Creature for Jekyll Islands. Very thick. You have to read that book. It's all there. I've been there many times because my sister lives on San Simon. So I've been many, many times to the place where they had the secret meeting. Senator Nelson Aldrich, who's the grandfather of Nelson Aldrich Rockefeller, the grandfather of David Rockefeller. He was Mr. Republican, head of the banking committee. He called a meeting of 6 people, including him, secretly, in 1910 to plan the Federal Reserve Bank. And the people around that table, those 6 people, represented the Rothschilds, J.P. Morgan, Rockefeller Bank, World War Bank from Germany and Holland, Kohn, Lloyd and Company, which is still around, it's an investment bank in New York, and they represented 25% of the wealth of the world. The 6 people there that represented those big interests. And that's how we lost the United States in 1913. Immediately after that, we had the income tax. Immediately after that, we went into debt, and on and on and on. So now when Barack Obama is running a deficit of $1 trillion a year, the owners, the current owners of the Federal Reserve, they send them an electronic wire and says, Barack Obama, here's $1 trillion. And Barack Obama sends them $1 trillion of government bonds with interest, treasury bonds. And then they sell it, or they keep it, and they haven't given Barack Obama anything, just an electronic wire. Wouldn't you like to be an owner of that bank? I certainly would. Well, these are the same people that are in the Bilderberg Group, the Trilateral Commission, and the Council of Foreign Relations. So whenever we have a new government in Washington, being Republican or Democrats, Secretary of Defense, Secretary of Treasury, CIA Director, Director of Intelligence, all of those come from the Council of Foreign Relations. Doesn't matter whether Republican or Democrat, they all come from there. They couldn't care less, Secretary of Transportation. But money, foreign policy, and defense is always somebody from the Council of Foreign Relations, always that. So you can tell who's running our country. The Council of Foreign Relations is running our country because all of them come from there. Then I did a lot of research on another bank that's completely unknown in the United States, which is called the Bank for International Settlements. It's located in Basel, Switzerland. And there's some great books that just came out on that bank. It's actually the bank that runs the world. This is the central bank of all of the central banks in the world, which are privately owned. So imagine the power of that bank. So guess who's in that bank? The Bilderberg Group is there, the Council of Foreign Relations is there, as well as the Trilateral Commission. All right, so my book is like 3 books in one. This is like a book because there's so many chapters dealing with that. I have another chapter called United Nations Treaties and Laws that will take away our sovereignty and our wealth. Barack Obama has 17 treaties from the United Nations that he wants to implement in the United States. Treaties that will take away our Supreme Court. We will have an international court at the UN. Take away our guns. In fact, Kerry already signed it. Already signed the gun control law of the UN. If we lose our weapons, it's over for the United States. When we lost our weapons in Cuba, when we lost it in Venezuela, when the people in Germany lost theirs, they got Hitler, they got Chavez, and we got Fidel Castro. We can never, never give in our weapons. Never. There's another wonderful law called the law of the sea. This particular law says if we look for oil or gas 200 nautical miles away from our coast, the revenues goes to the UN, not to the US Treasury Department. And all the money collected goes to the Seabed Authority, which is housed in Jamaica. And 30-some nations belong to the Seabed Authority. We got one boat there, and the other 32 nations have the same boat as we do. And those 32 nations, like Sudan and places like that, they're going to decide how to give that revenue that we are giving them instead of to our treasury. And additionally, when we look for oil beyond 200 nautical miles, by that treaty, we have to share the technology free of charge with the rest of the world. And Barack Obama wants us to approve that treaty. Anyway, those are some of the 17 treaties that Barack Obama wants us to implement in the United States. Then I have several chapters dealing with the Muslim Brotherhood, the history of the Muslim Brotherhood in the world, which is in over 80 countries. I have another chapter about the infiltration of the Muslim Brotherhood in the Obama administration. This is the biggest scandal of all. I have pictures of every single person that Barack Obama has placed into her administration, including 2 assistant secretaries for Homeland Security. All right, and then one of them, an imam called Magid, comes from Sudan, which the entire nation is a terrorist nation, and also a Muslim Brotherhood nation. And Barack Obama has him as one of his major advisors. And he was in the White House the day before. He gave a major speech in the State Department where for the first time in the history of the United States, a US president stated publicly that Israel has to go back to the pre-1967 boundaries, meaning Israel has to give back the Golan Heights to Syria, half of the country to Jordan. Isn't that wonderful? Barack Obama said that, and the day before, a member of the Muslim Brotherhood, who has one of the largest Muslim Brotherhood organizations, wrote a speech for him. Another one, a young guy who was also in the Muslim Brotherhood, Rashid Hussain is his name, was a lawyer at the White House, and when Obama goes to Cairo and says, we are not a Judeo-Christian nation, we're nothing, we're secular, whatever. That's against every sociology book. Every sociology book says we are a Judeo-Christian nation, but Barack Obama denied it. This man wrote a speech for Barack Obama. He also forced the president of Egypt to have in front of him members of the Muslim Brotherhood of Egypt that was prescribed by the government. So he forced Hosni Mubarak to invite to his speech members of the Muslim Brotherhood. These are the advisors he has. We have a retired admiral, which I'm going to talk about him again, James Lyon, 4-star retired admiral. He's in his 80s. He was the head of the Pacific Fleet. He was number 2 in the Navy, served our country honorable for over 35 years, and he has denounced, he and General Paul Vallely, General Boykin, which Juan and I know him from Washington, 3-star General Jerry Boykin is his name. All of these people have denounced how the Obama administration, with the Muslim Brotherhood, has rewritten all the manuals that are used by Homeland Security, CIA, FBI, Pentagon, the military academies. So any criticism of Islam has been eliminated and sanitized. And this is very sad because we're not even teaching what goes on. And sadly, I mentioned in the book, they had a training in Atlanta for all the officers of the Army Reserve. And the Southern Poverty Center, which is a Marxist organization, wrote the manual, I'm sure with the help of the Muslim Brotherhood, and then they were taught Catholics, evangelical Protestants, and certain Jewish sects are worse than Al-Qaeda. That was taught to our military, just like that. So I guess I'm a Catholic, I guess I'm as bad as Al-Qaeda then. That's what was taught there. And then of course, the Cardinal from New York denounced it, the chaplain from the Pentagon denounced it, but that was taught. And that has happened with all of the, we no longer teach that in the Quran, it says quite clearly, the infidels, meaning all of us that are not Muslim, the infidels have to be converted. If they refuse, we can kill them or enslave them. That's no longer being taught. And then our president goes to the United Nations and says, remember what he said? The world does not belong to those that blaspheme the Prophet Muhammad. Our president says that to the world. Imagine that. And he doesn't denounce the burning of Coptic churches in Egypt from the 1st century after Christ, the killing of Christians in Syria that speak Aramaic, the language of Jesus Christ. He doesn't denounce that. We allow to put a crucifix with urine and a painting of the Virgin Mary with excrement from elephants, and we call that the First Amendment, and we allow that in New York to do that, to desecrate Jesus Christ, desecrate the Virgin Mary. But, you know, that's okay with Barack Obama. It's okay that Sharia law is killing women and throwing stones at them because they're accused of being unfaithful to their husband. It's okay to tyrannize women in the Muslim countries. It's okay with Barack Obama because all of his family is Muslim. And he's also one, but no, Barack Obama is not a secular Muslim. He's a radical Muslim. That makes it so dangerous, what he's doing, and I'll tell you why in a second here. Then, of course, I have the whole history of Egypt. I taught a class on Egypt at the University of Miami, so I did a lot of research on Egypt, how Mohamed Morsi got to power. I briefly mentioned to you. I also talk about how he was overthrown after destroying the country in just 1 year. Then I talk about Syria. I have a map of Syria, how, of course, we did the right thing by not intervening in Syria. Or if we had intervened, it had to be at the very beginning, when we still had a free Syrian army that was not connected to Al-Qaeda. But he didn't interview then. He interviewed later to help Al-Qaeda and the Muslim Brotherhood, as I'll mention in a second. Then I have the 8 scandals of Barack Obama, and you know them very well. You know, the IRS persecution of Tea Parties. Were you persecuted here? Maybe yes, maybe not. Hope it doesn't happen. Okay. Well, I can tell you I'm being personally persecuted right now. And so Juan knows too, he's been persecuted as well. He's being followed by strange cars, all black on the outside. They have destroyed my computers, erased all my contacts. And the worst part, I was doing an article on China because I also taught a class on China at the University of Miami. And I'm writing an article of 40 pages long, and somebody is spying on me, reading what I'm writing at the same time. I am in Word. I'm not in the internet. I'm only in my own computer. So I'm doing my article on China, and I mentioned that a few years ago, the USS Impeccable, one of our Navy ships, who was spying on China but in international waters, I had a bunch of antennas in the back of the ship, was attacked by 10 Chinese warships. 10 warships. That's an act of war. This happened in the South China Sea in international waters. And they boarded our ship, destroyed our antennas, and then to add injury to insult, they took their pants down and they mooned our sailors who had to get out of there because they were being chased by 10 Chinese warships. So I'm writing about that in my computer, in Word, not connected to the internet, and whoever is spying on me says, but this man is not a terrorist. I don't know why I'm spying to this guy. He's just alerting us about the gathering threat of China. He's just telling us what China is doing to the US. So all of a sudden, inside my article, appeared another article out of nowhere. And I started reading this article. I couldn't believe I had this article inside my article. And as I read it, it was an article that talked about something that happened December 3rd, 2013, which I had no idea that it had happened because it wasn't put in our newspapers here, about another ship, the USS Cowpen, a cruise missile ship, who is spying on the one aircraft carrier that China has, which is called the Lion, who is out in maneuvers with many other Chinese ships, and our cruise missile, USS Cowpens, is simply watching and probably filming to see if China knows how to move an aircraft carrier. So as I read that, it says, that's exactly what I'm writing. So of course I used that article to strengthen my own article. But, you know, so I guess he was telling me 2 things. 1, know that we're spying on you. 2, you're not a bad guy, so let me help you. So not everybody that spies on you is a bad guy. Thank God. I also had a visit from the FBI at my house who wanted to ask me about my backdoor neighbor. He says, do you know that I've written all these books against Obama? You know, let me show you them. In case he came to look for that, I show it to him. It's all about my backdoor neighbor. Then one day somebody entered my house, left the door open, in the back of my house, the cabana bathroom that I have, and nothing was stolen. So maybe I have a box somewhere there. Anyway, our website, bear witness, is under constant cyber attack. Constant cyber attack. If sometimes you go to our website and it takes a while for you to enter, it's because we have put so many. I got 5 minutes left? I haven't even started. Okay, anyway, so it's slow because we're under cyber attack. Sometimes they enter our website, raise all our videos. One time I went in there, I saw a hand like this, and instead of the website, Republican Party in Miami. They attacked our website there as well. We had a meeting, and they said the meeting had been canceled when it wasn't canceled. Even things like that happen. Anyway, continuing on, just briefly, you mentioned that I have a chapter here on fraud, on election fraud. That's a very important chapter in the book. I have another chapter on the violations of the Constitution, but the chapter on election fraud, first of all, in 2008, John McCain won that election. We had an organization called ACORN, a Marxist organization that Obama worked for and even trained the cadres of ACORN, and they falsified thousands of ballots in the battleground states. Not, of course, in New York or Illinois. They don't need to do it there. And then in 2012, it was even worse. There's a Canadian company. I have the picture of the owner here in the book. It's a Canadian company by the name of Dominion Voting Systems. They purchased Sequoia, which is a very old company in the United States, and Sequoia had been purchased by Smartmatic from Venezuela. That's a company that Hugo Chavez has to cheat on the elections, and they put the software of the Smartmatic machines into Sequoia, and then the Canadian company purchased Sequoia. They also purchased Diabolt, Premier, and that company now that has the software of the Smartmatic machines from Venezuela was used in 20 states and the District of Columbia, and 50% of the people in the United States voted with those machines. So I have to tell you that we will never restore electoral integrity until every single electronic machine is banned forever. All of them can be fixed. You can introduce viruses in them that are dormant. They wake up the day of the election. They self-destruct at the end of the election. And also, as you know, when you transmit the information from a precinct electronically to another computer, it can be captured on the way there and changed as well. Congress has had testimony to that effect for a very long time. Experts in computers says all of the electronic machines can be fixed, and yet we're using them in the 50 states. Besides also having many states that you can vote multiple times because they don't ask for any picture ID. Remember the black lady that said in Ohio, I voted 6 times for Barack Obama. I'm very proud of that. So anyway, that is basically what the book is. And if you're interested in the book, I'll be there signing copies for you. And I'm going to stop here. Oh no, the most important part. Let me just take 2 minutes. This is a report everybody needs to read here. How America switched sides on the war of terror. 18 high-ranking retired military, CIA officials, former Department of Defense officials, together with Roger Aronoff, came out with this report that accused President Obama of treason, and Hillary Clinton as well. During the war against Gaddafi, which by that time, when we overthrew Gaddafi, he was an ally of the United States on the war of terror. He was fighting Al-Qaeda in the eastern part of Libya. Al-Qaeda that fought against our troops in Iraq and Afghanistan. So we entered the war on the side of the Libyan Muslim Brotherhood and on the side of Al-Qaeda. We entered the war like that. After the war, our special envoy, well, first of all, during that war, $1 billion of armaments came through Benghazi and was directed by Chris Stevens, the future ambassador to Libya that got assassinated. They came from Qatar. I was financed by the United Arab Emirates. And those that received the weapons were Al-Qaeda, and they had the black flags of jihad. They never hid the fact that they were Al-Qaeda, and we, the United States, supervised that $1 billion of armament is going there to overthrow Gaddafi. The President of the States did that, and so did Hillary Clinton. Afterwards, we had a Middle Eastern gun-running operation, sending guns from Libya to Turkey to Syria, and most of those weapons ended up in Al-Qaeda, the Al-Nura Front, and in ISIS as well. And we also trained ISIS soldiers in a secret base in Jordan. We trained ISIS fighters in Jordan as well. All of that is in here. And you can go to the website, aim.org. It's called accuracyinthemedia.org, and read that report. This is why I'm asking for the impeachment of Barack Obama for treason to the United States, dereliction of duty, and negligence. He needs to be impeached. Thank you so much. Okay, 10 minutes for questions. Yes, ma'am.
Do you think Obama is setting us up for an invasion, the way he's downsizing the military, setting us up?
Absolutely. Remember, he learned that from his father, Barack Obama Sr., who hated the West. From the day he took office, he's been trying to downgrade the United States as a world power. In essence, we're a superpower in retreat. A superpower has to be respected by our allies and feared by our enemies, and we are neither. And that's done deliberately by the President of the United States. Yes, sir.
Anything we can do about it besides just sit and twiddle our thumbs? I'm talking about possibly a second revolution.
Well, I'm not in favor of a second revolution. Oh, okay. He's asking whether we are ready for a second revolution. If it's peaceful, yes. I'm not advocating civil war, obviously, but I am advocating the impeachment of Barack Obama, even if we lose in the Senate the trial, which we need 2/3 of the vote, and we don't have them, and nor we will have it in November either. But nevertheless, it needs to be impeached, so the American people know that we have a traitor that lives in the White House. Whether we win or not the trial, the articles on impeachment must be filed. Yes, sir?
First, thanks for all the time and interviews and researching Barack Obama and giving us that information. Have you started your research on Hillary Clinton?
Oh, absolutely. She's just as bad as him. Yeah, he's asking if I'm doing research on Hillary Clinton. The answer is yes. I'm writing articles right now on Hillary Clinton. And it's a great book that just came out, Blood Feud, by Edward Klein, who also did The Amateur. You need to read that book. Hillary Clinton is just as guilty as Barack Obama. She's not any better. However, Barack Obama doesn't want her. He wants Senator Elizabeth Warren from New Jersey, because that's a mini-me for him. She's to the left of Hillary Clinton. Can you imagine that, being to the left of Hillary Clinton? Oh, absolutely. I'm writing on Hillary Clinton way before. Yes, sir. Back.
For years, I've known that there's some forces that doesn't like this country and wants it destroyed. I mean, just by the actions that's been going on. And you mentioned the Builder Group, and that David Rockefeller is part of that. And by the way, he's the oldest billionaire in the world, according to Forbes magazine. But then, you mentioned the Builder Group, and I want to know that they're kind of behind it. I want to know, what do these people want? If you say that they're rich, they're billionaires, what do they want? They don't want more money. What is it that they're after? What goal, what purpose will they achieve if they destroy this country?
Well, I'm going to tell you what they want. They want a world government under the United Nations, but dominated by them. That's why Rockefeller gave the piece of land for the United Nations and all the things. That's what they really want. And of course, they have Agenda 21 to do away with private property, which has been advanced slowly and faster in the United States for years. And there are Republicans and Democrats that want that. For example, Rudolph Murdoch, the owner of Fox News, the Wall Street Journal, and the New York Daily, is that what it's called? No, Post, the New York Post, goes to the Bilderberg meetings and meets with George Soros. Think what you want, you know. They want a world government no currency, one religion, do away with our sovereignty and wealth, give our wealth to the third world countries. Why do they want that? I have no idea, because if you have so much money, why don't you enjoy the money and leave us alone?
Is it just that they have some kind of psychological need to control other people, or what?
I guess that's the reason.
Not all the money if they're multi-billion.
You would think that they would enjoy their money and leave us alone. No, they don't want to leave us alone. They want us to go back to the Middle Ages, when you have a lord and everybody else is a slave. No private property. I mean, you know, you talk about Agenda 21 not too long ago, Pam, right? Anyway, yes, they want more power and they want a one-world government. Yes, sir.
And one way to get a bigger audience, you have such wonderful things in your book that you mentioned. Why don't you put some of this on YouTube and get it really publicized?
I have 3 videos on what I just told you, on Benghazi, 25 minutes each, the video, which I sent to Cindy Joel. You got my videos, the 3 videos from YouTube? Send it to them. And we are going to do more videos. In fact, this is being recorded now, so this is going to go to YouTube as well. Yes, videos reach more people than books. Yes. And there are a lot of people who don't like to read, but they can listen and hear and see. So I agree with you. That's why I'm on the radio. I'm on TV constantly in Miami, denouncing everything. I'm just telling you here. I say that on TV stations in Miami, radio stations in Miami, radio station right here. I said it in C-SPAN in South Carolina. When I went to the meeting in South Carolina, I only spoke 10 minutes, but everything I said here, I summarized in 10 minutes, and then went on national TV in C-SPAN. So I've been denouncing everywhere I can.
We need short videos, like
yes.
10 minutes, 5 minutes.
Yes, well, the 3 videos on Benghazi are 25 minutes each, which is the maximum that I can put in YouTube.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, sir.
Another comment. I know that Facebook has a bad rep, but to get to all the people, this needs to be put on Facebook.
Yes, I have my own Facebook page, which I have like 600 followers. I have 700 people in my email list. If you want it to be added in my, you give me your email and I'll add you and send you all of my future articles. Since this book came out, I have written probably 150 pages of articles. Since that book came out, because I write every single day. 1 or 2 articles a week, and some of them are 18 pages long. Yes, sir.
Yes, she said you favor articles of impeachment. Now, according to the Constitution, at least as I understand it, a president could be impeached for 2 things: high crimes and misdemeanors. There must be at least 2 witnesses. Who would these witnesses be, and exactly have we thought out unintended consequences of this action? For example, we have a higher need, in my opinion, of things like jobs for people. The economy is in a mess, and I think articles of impeachment, although that would not be a bad idea, I think the unintended consequences, including the possibility of riots nationwide.
Well, that's what Speaker Boner believes, and other Republicans. I disagree with that viewpoint. We need to defend the Constitution. And we have a president who is completely lawless and picks and chooses which laws he wants to follow and has violated the Constitution from day one. We need to file articles for impeachment. And this committee that did that report on Libya, everything, all the crimes that he committed in Libya, is in contact with Trent Gowdy's House of Representatives Select Committee. Is in constant contact. Unfortunately, he already announced that his investigation will go on until 2015. So who knows by that time if we're going to have the will to impeachment by that time. But I think no matter who the president is, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat, that tramples on the Constitution, that violates the law, tells Congress, I have a pen and a phone, and if you don't pass the laws I want, I'll do it through executive action or government regulation. He has to be impeached. It must be impeached, or otherwise we're going to lose our democracy. Because he's more than an imperial president. He's a lawless president that picks and chooses which laws he wants to enforce. Even the law that his signature law, Obamacare, how many times did he amend that law? And according to our Constitution, that's illegal. He has to go back to Congress and ask Congress to amend his own law that he signed and Congress passed. So when you have a president like that, the only recourse that we have is to file articles of impeachment. And lose or win or lose, it has to be done for the sake of our democracy and our constitutional republic. Yes, sir.
I don't think you have to file articles of impeachment to win. The Republicans run the House. The House has sole control of the money. They can cut off all the money for Affordable Care Act unless it's administered according to the Constitution. That's a lot easier to do. I don't think we're going to live with impeachment ever.
Okay.
Because the public is not supportive of that.
Yes, but they didn't do that either when they had the opportunity. Remember? We shut down Congress and then we cave in. So yeah, that's a good way of doing it. They have the power of the purse, but they didn't exercise it when they should have exercised it. Yes, sir, in the back.
Mr. Frank, how are you?
Muy bien.
I'm Luis from Venezuela. I live here for 15 years. And I have a question because I got your information, your point. And since few years we have an economic decline and new government is trying to create a growth which we don't see yet. And you say, and also I know that dollar currency is not accepted. As in, they don't love it anymore in Canada, Europe, and some other countries. China, they don't, because they're buying the world. What are we expecting here? I mean, because I used to be an investor. I'm planning to be again. I stopped it because I was one of the investors who suffered because of the recession, and I'm from Venezuela, bringing investment into the country, okay? So, because we don't have any more life over there, as you know, because there is no way to go there.
Okay.
So what are we expecting here? I mean, because $1 trillion a year in the Obama request to the, nobody knows, right?
Okay, right now, the general manager of the Bank for International Settlements, the central bank of all the central banks, Jaime Caruana from Spain, he gave a speech just now, 60 central bankers of the world, including Janet Yellen from the US. He said, the debt is unbearable. You know, we can't carry so much debt. Our debt is not $17.6 trillion. That's only the federal debt. When you add the 50 state debts, counties, cities, the unfunded mandates, Social Security, Medicare, Obamacare, and so forth, our real debt is over $150 trillion. That is the real debt of the United States. Over 150 trillion. If you have a little bit of money, buy a little bit of gold. If you don't have a lot of money, buy silver eagles. They're $25 each. Because the dollar is going to crash sooner or later. I don't know how long, I can't see the future, but China is buying secretly tons of gold. They think that they may have by now 10,000 tons of gold. They're buying gold mines throughout the world, importing gold, and they will announce someday the yuan or the renminbi, their currency, is backed by gold. And that will be the end of the US dollar as an international currency. It'll be the end of our economy as well. And China has announced it publicly. So does Russia. We want to destroy the dollar as an international currency and substitute it for the Chinese yuan. And it's going to happen because of our tremendous debt. And remember how Romney used to say, we don't want to be another Greece, remember? 2012? We are already a Greece. That's a sad reality. Protect yourself, buy a little bit of silver, and if you can, a little bit of gold. In case the gold goes to $5,000 an ounce instead of $1,300 that it is right now. Yes, sir.
Final question.
Final question.
There are people like me all over this country in tea parties that are willing to work very hard to get constitutional candidates into office. What good does it do if at the ballot box they're rigged and those elections are thrown? And what can we do about getting that corrected in a timely fashion?
Well, it's hard to cheat all over the United States. So I will definitely ask everybody to go and vote. I wanted to change the Constitution, not the Constitution, the way that Florida award the electoral votes. Instead of a winner-take-all primary, to do it by a Congress. I wrote an article, I sent it to Mr. Feeman, I sent it to the Speaker of the House, and the Senate President of Florida, I sent it to Governor Scott. The reason being that it's hard to cheat in 67 counties of Florida, or hard to cheat in the 27 congressional districts. That's what we have, 27, right? 2 senators and 29 electoral votes. So it's hard to do it that way. We didn't get anywhere. The sad reality is that Puerto Rico is bankrupt, and thousands of Puerto Ricans are moving into Florida, and almost all of them vote Democratic. That's why we need to work harder with the Puerto Ricans in Central Florida to make them aware of what's happening. That will be one way of doing it. We got 2 states, Maine and Nebraska, that award their electoral votes in that fashion. The other 48 is a winner-take-all. Whoever wins the popular vote wins all the electoral votes. That would be one way of doing it. The other way would be to do away with the electronic machines and those things. But we need to, I just have to tell you that in 2012, 2 weeks before the election, in November 2012, when I was doing that other book, the Miami Herald, which endorsed Obama, the Tampa Tribune, and another entity, which I forgot what it is, they did a poll, and Romney was winning Florida 57%. 2 weeks later, he got 49.5. A friend of mine worked as a poll worker in Palm Beach County. He said that his precinct, he got reported double the amount of people that voted, and he was right there watching it. He complained to the Palm Beach supervisor of election. He complained to the Secretary of State of Florida. There was cheating going on in his precinct. He didn't even get a reply. So yes, we have to monitor the elections. You know what? All of you that are retired, or you have time, become poll workers and watch what goes on in that poll worker where you're assigned. That would be one way of keeping honest the elections. But yes, we have to vote nevertheless, because if we have massive polls in the nation that says that we're winning by 60% to 40, and then all of a sudden somebody wins 51%, that should be an indication of massive fraud. Thank you.